The United States has cautioned Canada against backing out of its purchase of American-made F-35 fighter jets, warning it of potential fallout if the deal is scrapped.
Prime Minister announced a major increase in military spending. Canada's Auditor General says the F-35 fighter jet program is proving far more costly than planned.
Ottawa is sticking to its plan to buy Lockheed's F-35 fighter jets. So last week, Prime Minister Mark Carney ordered a review of Canada's contract to buy 88 F-35 fighter jets.
No one was prepared for what happened next. Not Washington's defense analysts, not Ottawa's military planners, and certainly not the experts who believed Canada's fighter jet decision was already set in stone. The world assumed Canada's future in aviation was a closed chapter, predictable, conventional, and firmly aligned with America's expectations. Then, Sweden made an announcement so sudden and so disruptive that it sent a jolt through NATO, rattled officials in the United States, and completely altered Canada's long-term air power strategy. It wasn't framed as a friendly gesture or a minor proposal. It was a direct challenge to the status quo, a strategic ambush that forced Canada to rethink everything it believed about modern air defense. This is the Gripen shock. For years, Canada's fighter procurement debate was a saga of delays, political fights, and indecision. The F-35 seemed like the inevitable conclusion. Expensive but familiar, complex but widely accepted, controversial but expected. Everyone assumed Canada would eventually settle into the predictable orbit of America's flagship fighter program. But Sweden arrived with an offer no one saw coming. They didn't just pitch an aircraft, they delivered a national transformation plan, co-production on Canadian soil, full technology access, Arctic-ready enhancements, and long-term industrial benefits capable of reshaping Canada's entire aerospace ecosystem. It was not just about buying jets, it was about rewriting Canada's strategic identity. The shock didn't begin with a headline. It began quietly, almost silently. There was no ceremony, no ribbon cutting. Sweden's defense delegation simply walked into a room in Ottawa and presented a proposal that stopped conversations mid-sentence. Instead of a standard military procurement package, they offered something far more significant: the opportunity for Canada to assemble and co-produce the Gripen E at home, with full access to mission systems, maintenance, electronic warfare libraries, and sovereign control over upgrades. The air changed. What had long been a narrow comparison between the F-35 and the Gripen suddenly transformed into a broader national conversation about independence, industrial revival, and the future of Canada's military capability. It was no longer about which jet performs better. It became, what kind of country does Canada want to be? For decades, Canada has depended heavily on foreign contractors for fighter jet maintenance, software updates, weapons integration, and system certification. Sweden's offer shattered that dependency. Canada wouldn't just fly these aircraft, it would help build them, support them, and shape them for decades. That single change rewrites Canada's defense philosophy. But Saab didn't stop there. They targeted one of the most politically sensitive pressure points in Canada: the economy. The F-35 program may offer limited industrial offsets, but most of its technology remains locked behind American restrictions. Sweden's pitch was the exact opposite: open books, open access, open partnership, full technology transfer, engineering centers in Canada, manufacturing pipelines across multiple provinces, thousands of jobs in aerospace, tech, and advanced engineering. Experts immediately drew comparisons to the Avro-Aero era. But this wasn't nostalgia. This was real, tangible industrial capability returning to Canadian soil after decades of decline. For the first time in a generation, Canada was being offered a chance to rebuild a genuine aerospace identity. And beneath the industrial promise was an even bigger strategic reality: the Arctic. Canada's north is no longer a remote frontier. It is becoming one of the world's most important geopolitical battlegrounds. Melting ice routes, increased navigation, territorial tensions, and heightened Russian military activity have transformed the Arctic into contested territory. China has quietly begun its own long-term economic push into polar regions. The stakes are higher than ever. In this environment, Canada cannot rely on aircraft designed for warm climates, large support bases, or tightly restricted maintenance systems. Then came the most surprising twist of all. Sweden promised interoperability with NORAD and NATO while still giving Canada complete sovereignty over mission data, software, and upgrade authority. In modern warfare, the ability to program your own fighter jet without foreign approval is one of the rarest and most valuable forms of military independence. Some F-35 operators cannot modify certain systems without U.S. authorization. Sweden is offering Canada the keys to the entire software brain of the aircraft. That level of control is almost unheard of. But what elevates Sweden's proposal into historic territory is not the aircraft itself, it's the long-term vision behind it. Sweden is not offering a one-time procurement deal. It is offering a multi-decade defense partnership, one that grows, evolves, and expands. Saab made it clear that Canada would have sovereign access to mission data files, electronic warfare libraries, and upgrade authority. Very few nations hold this level of control over their fighters. And in an era where electronic warfare decides battles long before the aircraft even see each other, owning the software is more important than owning the hardware. All of this is unfolding as the Arctic becomes more unstable. Russia is expanding northern bases, SAM networks, and surveillance platforms. China is investing in Arctic shipping and research. Europe is rearming at a pace not seen since the Cold War. The world is heading into a new era of military competition. Canada needs a fighter that can operate independently in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. One that can survive without large bases, operate far from major supply lines, and remain reliable even in deep winter deployments. The Gripen E was built for environments exactly like that. It was tested in Sweden's Lapland under brutal winter conditions. Its design emphasizes simplicity, reliability, low maintenance, and operational flexibility. And unlike heavier, maintenance-intensive fighters, the Gripen doesn't need a massive support network to stay mission-ready. Global air power doctrine is also shifting. Conflicts in Europe and rising tensions in the Pacific have shown that nations cannot rely solely on ultra-expensive, high-maintenance fighters. They need flexible, modular jets that can be deployed quickly, affordably, and reliably. Sweden sees the Gripen E as that backbone fighter and wants Canada as a co-architect of its long-term development. Sweden rarely offers these deep industrial and technological partnerships. Their willingness to do so with Canada signals that they see Ottawa as a strategic Arctic partner, not just a customer. They see Canada as a nation capable of shaping NATO's northern defense strategy for the next half-century. And that is why the stakes are enormous. Canada isn't choosing between two aircraft. It is choosing between two national futures. One is predictable but dependent. The other is sovereign, innovative, economically transformative, and strategically independent. Sweden didn't just join the conversation, it detonated it, blowing apart assumptions held by Canada, NATO, and the United States. Now Canada stands at a defining moment. The Gripen E proposal is more than a procurement offer. It is a chance to realign Canada's defense strategy, rebuild its aerospace industry, reclaim its Arctic autonomy, and gain full sovereign control over its fighter systems. Sweden has fundamentally rewritten the terms of the debate. Canada must now decide whether to continue down the familiar path of dependency or step boldly toward independence, industrial renewal, and long-term national strength. Whatever Ottawa ultimately chooses, one truth is undeniable. Sweden has transformed the conversation. The Gripen E is no longer the underdog. It is a serious contender that has changed everything. If you want more deep-dive documentary-style breakdowns like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The global defense landscape is shifting fast, and the next major twist may already be on its way.